Arudrabhagam tamaveksha chadvaram pitra cha deve kritahelanam vipau anadrita yajna sadasi adhishwari chukopalokan iva dakshayati rusha. Word to word meanings: Arudra Bhagam, having no oblations for Lord Shiva, Tam, that, Avekshya, seeing, Cha, and, Advaram, place of sacrifice, Pitra, by her father, Cha, and, Deve, to Lord Shiva, Kritahelanam, contempt having been shown, Vibhav, to the Lord, Anadrita, not being received, Yajna Sadasi, in the assembly of the sacrifice, Adhishwari Sati Chukopa, being greatly angry, Lokan, the 14 worlds, Iva, as if, Dakshayati, burning, Rusha, with anger. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation: present in the arena of sacrifice, Sati saw that there were no oblations for her husband, Lord Shiva. Next, she realized that not only had her father failed to invite Lord Shiva, but when he saw Lord Shiva's exalted wife, Daksha did not receive her either. That she became greatly angry. So much so that she looked at her father as if she were going to burn him with her eyes. Purport: by offering oblations in the fire while chanting the Vedic mantra Swaha, one offers respect to all the demigods, great sages, and Pitas, including Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu. It is customary that Shiva is one of those who are offered respects. But Sati, while personally present in the arena, saw that the Brahmanas did not utter the mantra offering oblations to Lord Shiva. Namah Shivaya Swaha. She was not sorry for herself. She was ready to come to her father's. She was ready to come to her father's house without being invited. But she wanted to see whether or not her husband was being respected. To see her relatives, her sisters and mother was not so important. Even when she was received by her mother and sisters, she did not care, for she was most concerned that her husband was being insulted in the sacrifice. When she marked the insult, she became greatly angry. And she looked at her father so angrily that Daksha appeared to burn in her vision. Om Tat Sat, Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nittai Gaura Premanande. So, we are reading this amazing part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein we are getting to hear today the dramatic appearance of Sati in Daksha's sacrifice. And Daksha purposefully insulting her. And from that insult, the reaction of Sati, the feelings and emotions of Sati. Human society is filled with these type of sensitive interactions. And we have to be extremely careful about how we maintain these relationships. That's what makes a person a human being in social circles. That is, you're sensitive and you behave like a human being. You react like a human being. And you respect others as human beings. And when these things are not followed, you create other types of dangerous emotions in people. Insecurity, anger, all these things are because of not getting what is expected from society, from the people who make up society, especially from those people who are very close to you, whom you value. Sati is not going to be bothered about some other demigod not respecting her, or somebody else in the assembly not respecting her. What really matters is those people who know you and know your position socially, accepting it, offering that position to you, respecting you. These are all not something too much to ask for, but these are considered to be etiquette, proper etiquette. That's why whenever we have a guest, we receive him properly, we glorify him, we speak about his great contribution to human society or to the, whatever that context is. And we make him understand that your coordinates is understood and your contribution is understood. We welcome you. We are happy to have you. These are simple things that people expect. Many times in our temples, when people come to visit, just a few words like this would mean a lot to making that person happy, have a great experience, and even come back again and again, contribute his words, energy, wealth, mind, intelligence, everything. But sometimes we fail to do it because we're a little too busy attending to many other things. So this is a very important aspect. The aspect of knowing that we need to attend to people. Sati is not coming for attention. Definitely, it is mentioned here in the purport, she wanted to know whether her husband is attended to or not as a demigod. That's mentioned in the purport. So, added to that, the fact that her father did not attend to her. That's very, very brash, very rude behavior of a father towards a daughter. Normally, daughters have natural affection towards a father, the sons have natural affection towards a mother, which is more deeper, and they're expecting that. To have a father who doesn't respect the daughter who has come all the way to attend the sacrifice, be with the family, and be in the occasion is a very deep insult. It's a very deep insult. So it's here, the emotions that go with it are expressed very nicely, and how Sati is feeling that very deeply. And she actually becomes reactively angry at her father. Now, whoever you may be in your position, you may be somebody very great, but if you don't know how to handle your relationship, you will elicit a wrong response from even your subordinate. From your subordinate with whom you can very easily have a good relationship. If you play it wrong, stupidly wrong, then even your subordinate will rise against you. Why? Because even the basic etiquette you don't observe. You don't observe the basic etiquette. So Daksha, of course, did it on purpose. He did it on purpose to send a powerful message a strong message to his daughter saying that, I don't care about you. Why? Because you are the husband of the person whom I am very envious of. So this irked her very much, very much. Sensitivity towards relationships is a good lesson that we can learn from here. You may be busy, you may be anything and everything, but people understand that. They know that you're occupied. Just a wave of the hand, just a nod, just an appreciation, just a recognition, or when time permits coming and talking. These are all, showing that people are important to you. Daksha was only concerned about his position, about his respect, about promoting himself, about anybody who stood in the way for promoting himself like Lord Shiva. He was not at all concerned about humane beings. He was not concerned. This is a great flaw in materialistic people. And in a materialistic society like we have today, you can see this often happening. We are all counted as human resource in the economy that we have. You are a human resource. That's like there is land resource, there is money resource, there is manpower resource, there is raw material resource. You're just one of the resources, not as a conscious, willing, feeling human being. In a society that considers human beings to be just a resource, a material resource, that too, right? What can you expect? And that too, a dispensable resource. And the more and more nowadays you see that with all the artificial intelligence and all that coming up, human beings are slowly becoming redundant in terms of doing the jobs that are required for that type of an economy. So you see, you'll get least respect. Even today, I'm saying the Daksha type of a treatment is extant from then onwards, even now. So people understand that, yes, I should not do this, and they try to do it artificially also. So because of the fact that people are least interested in human beings, now you will see that they've got human relations departments, and people are hired to artificially do this. This is another great flaw. You can't actually, you can't simulate relationships. Relationships are so common and so deep to human beings. That's what makes the difference between a human being and a robot. The powerful exchange of a conscious relationship from a living, breathing human being is completely different. You can't simulate it using a robot or something in any way, or neither can you feign it, pretend to have it, right? So these type of relationships, artificially smiling, giving you this thing and making you feel good, and okay, your relationship was good, fine. But actually, I know it is simply external. It's simply artificial. So as far as people are observing, fine, you kept it up properly. But really speaking, you don't want a relationship with me personally. And that is the message that I can understand. Although you may externally keep up things up. So nowadays you see artificial relationships, because we have to keep up relationships, therefore I have to keep up relationship. Therefore, at least I have to show that I'm keeping up a relationship. People are, unable to be conscious human beings, relational human beings on their own volition. That's a great, sad spectacle that you can see in society now. Even the person whom you least like and who's your best enemy, you can receive him very well externally. And that person also will notice it. Of course, these are other extremes. But in this case, my own daughter, Daksha's own daughter, is completely neglected. And naturally, it hurts a person very deeply. And that was the intention of Daksha, to hurt Sati, to hurt Lord Shiva. When you're angry at somebody, when you're envious at somebody, you want to actually create some damage in that person. And you want to enjoy that he's suffering. Very good, you deserve it. I want to, screw up your happiness. I want to actually give you trouble. And I want to enjoy watching you getting to. Why? Because you do not relate with me. So the psychology tells us many things, that sometimes people asking for attention from you and don't get it behave in very strange fashions towards you. And sometimes we're wondering, why are you doing this? But it's because of the fact that they're asking for attention and you're not able to give it, or you don't give it. And then you have to be forced to give it. In other words, we cannot avoid these natural relationships, and we should not work against it, because that's what makes us human beings. But the society today is such that people who don't have time for this is a very fundamentally wrong aspect of human civilization today, especially. People are not willing to be human beings. And the distinct quality that makes them human beings in relational dynamics, they're not willing to take part in it. They're not willing to take part in it. In fact, you will see that people who are really happy are those who have very good relationships. They are deeply internally fulfilled, satisfied, happy because of just interactions with them, with other people. I have seen that mostly people are just asking for very simple things. But we are trying to work hard and give them the things that they don't really want. They're not asking you for money, for wealth, everything. They're asking for humane attention. That's all. Daksha could have very nicely satisfied his daughter. He could have just shown excitement just for a few minutes. Wow, you're here. So wonderful you're here. And just, give her a little gift, give her a hug, give her anything, and she would have been happy. I'm not insecure here. Although my father has bad relationships with Lord Shiva, that's okay. Still, he recognizes me. Now let me work on his relationship with Lord Shiva. Let me do it nicely. And she may even sit and have a good talk. The problem with envious people is that they have decided and concluded that I don't want a relationship with such and such a person because he has got some things which I need. And every time I look at that person, a surge of envy comes and envelops me. You see? So you can imagine the situation very well. You can see how Sati would have felt, how her mother would have felt, Prasuti, in watching Sati emulate herself, and she is unable to do anything. Neither does Daksha do anything. Watching his daughter emulate herself, he just simply kept quiet. Very rude, very hard-hearted person. This is what happens to somebody who invests in material nature and invests in material enjoyment so much. Gradually, they become hard-hearted. They cannot be human beings. Matter and association with matter, material life, invariably makes you dead, materializes you. You also become an unconscious person, although you are actually living, willing, feeling, breathing. When matter enters our life, this is what happens. You have to be very, very careful about to what extent you can allow matter to enter. Keep it at the periphery. We need to be involved in the material world to earn a living, to be socially relevant to some extent, but we should never sell ourselves to such an extent to matter and material life that it affects our personality, affects our humaneness. Sometimes people do too much of it. Daksha is an example of that. Being very expert materially actually kills your personality, deep spiritual personality, and then your social personality. And people can understand, they can see the pulse of it. They can get the feeling that this person is sold out. They can get the feeling in your interaction. So Sati could understand, father is sold out. He is become very hard-hearted, envious of my husband, and he doesn't deserve to be my father himself. And I'm ashamed to call such a person my father. In fact, I'm ashamed even to have a body given to me by him. I would actually like to give up this body. I want to give up this body given to me by my father. This was the feelings running. See, things happen very fast. We have to be very quick to respond. But she had this feeling, Daksha acted, she had this feeling and she went ahead and did something. But Daksha also did not stop. But on the other hand, you see Lord Shiva and his very refined, reformed way. He was the butt of all the reactive behavior from Daksha. He kept very cool and calm. Kept very cool and calm. And that's why Sati knows that my husband is a very, very exalted person. That he is taking it very cool and calm, whatever Daksha is doing to him. And therefore, she expounds his value there in front of everybody. Previously in that same assembly, Daksha vilified Shiva. And here is Sati. She praises Shiva for what he is, denounces Daksha, and cuts off her relationship with him permanently. Never again. I want to be known as Dakshayini. I don't want to be your daughter at all. This is a very big decision she took. It's discussed yesterday about taking decision, executing it. So we see here disrespect, insult, calumny, making a person suffer in this way creates other types of things. As soon as Sati committed this type of a thing, even previously itself when Daksha cursed Shiva saying that you will not get any portion of the sacrifice. That time the followers of Lord Shiva, Daksha left, the followers of Lord Shiva cursed each other. And they said that very soon Daksha will get the head of a goat. That was predicted then only. And they said that all of you will suffer in this way. And there was cursing and counter-cursing. And Lord Shiva got a little disturbed and he left the place, watching all these things happening. But it is Daksha who initiated it by his cursing Lord Shiva, the most sober person. Daksha started this spiral of events because of his envy, because of his desire to have Lord Shiva under his control. So many times people don't understand that when they do these things, they are becoming instruments of Maya, helpless instruments in the hands of Maya, because they have a stake in the matter. What is that? Daksha is envious of Lord Shiva. Therefore, he comes tumbling down. He just commits offense after offense. Now he's offending his daughter so badly. She's in a woman's body. All she can do is to commit suicide. Previously, he offended Lord Shiva. And then he continued to remain very proud and puffed up, doing so many sacrifices. Of course, Brahma retained him as Prajapati, chief of the Prajapatis, because knowing that he's short of manpower, so he said, it's okay, I don't know about those things, but the guy is doing okay in terms of sacrifices and this and that and everything. So he's performing good. His material performance was very good. But spiritually, he was a real zero. He was a real zero. His relationships were very bad. When his own family members, he could not keep his relationships. So sometimes we are successful in the outside world only at the expense of our relationships. It's very our material expertise and relationships with others are very closely connected. It's rarely that we can see somebody keeping up very good relationships and giving that the time. Prabhupada was like that. Prabhupada was doing an amazing amount of things every day, right from going to the bank to walking with his devotees and defeating philosophy, coming and giving a Bhagavatam class, throughout the night sitting and writing his books, throughout the day going and meeting people, speaking, answering letters, so many innumerable things he did. But he always found time to spend with his people. He would sit down and fool around, joke around, give them a rich experience of the culture of Krishna consciousness, answer their questions, speak about the movement, speak about the vision, the future. He gave himself to the people. He found time always to sit down. He will sit down leisurely, fold his legs, and offer himself to you. All of the disciples of Prabhupada always remember that Prabhupada was most accessible to anybody. Of course, when he is traveling, he is not accessible, but he made himself accessible. Yeah. You see, matching up these two things. One is your material engagements and other things. Of course, Prabhupada was not materially engaged. His devotional service to Krishna, he was performing very nicely. But balancing these things, he was able to balance it because he saw no difference between this and that. Some of us have a material life, especially if we are grahasthas. We have a material life and we specifically give some time to it. And when we become too good in materially in certain things, we can become absorbed because that is satisfying us materially, deeply. And the accolades and the encouragement and the praises we get there draws us more that side to do more. Because in the spiritual level, sometimes you are not doing very great. You may not be able to chant your japa very well. You may not be able to read every day. You may not be able to do the services allocated to you. And because of that, you feel guilty. And number two, somebody comments on it. Everything happens negatively in spiritual life. So you slowly move away from that towards the other side where Maya is telling, I will give you encouragement. I will give you money. I will give you praise. I will give you everything, what they are giving you. And people tend to move towards that. This is dangerous. So you slowly move towards it and become more and more expert materially. Daksha was getting all the encouragement in the world. All the people were, speaking great about him. He was ruling very well. He was doing all his duties very well. He got drawn off to such a way that he didn't care to spend time with his daughter, with his family, with his in-laws. And he cared two hoots for Lord Shiva anyway. When you start performing materially, you think that I can do more and more and I'll go up and up. And you start boasting, you start even glorifying yourself, and then you show off that in social media I've got so many likes and so many views and da. And you think all these things are great. But unbeknownst to you, gradually, you are killing your own spiritual life. Daksha is an example, an epitome of that type of a situation, wherein he is thinking that he is right. That is the greatest flaw. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadraman ki. That is the greatest flaw. So we will see here that Sati immolates herself, and then Daksha hears about, Lord Shiva hears about it. And he creates Virabhadra, sends Virabhadra. Virabhadra completely finishes the sacrifice and kills Daksha. And then Daksha is headless. He gets a goat's head because that's the best he could afford at that moment. And all the demigods, along with Daksha and everybody, come to ask forgiveness from Lord Shiva, led by Brahma. They all come and see Lord Shiva sitting in Kailash under a huge banyan tree, addressing the four Kumaras and Kubera and everybody. And he was perfectly composed, very calm when he met them. And his reaction was, what to do? I had to teach them a lesson. They're childish, the demigods. And I thought that I should teach them a lesson. He didn't even speak about the fact that his wife was lost and all that. And Brahma, Daksha, all of them, Daksha paid his obeisances and asked Shiva to forgive him. His heart had changed. Daksha had reformed himself. And he was lamenting the loss of his daughter, actually, feelingly. And Lord Shiva could see that it was very genuine, Daksha's situation, and he had actually reformed. So he told that all of the others will regain their strength, they'll regain their positions, and the sacrifice can go on. Daksha will do the same thing with his goat head. He continued with his goat's head, and he performed the sacrifice. And Lord Shiva didn't mind it. He said, no, I'm not very disturbed. These people are childish. And in this way, Shiva's greatness shone forth. He forgave Daksha. You can see throughout Shiva's behavior is so exalted. In spite of Daksha doing these things to him, he very easily forgave him. He was able to do that. This is the meaning of strength. Strong persons can very easily forgive and forget. At the same time, strong persons don't take them for granted. If something goes beyond, they know how to get angry and do the needful. Like Shiva got angry, created Virabhadra, and ordered that Daksha should be killed. And he was killed. It is the same Daksha who was killed with the goat's head who has come. And he said, okay, fine, you learned your lesson. And he was very sober. So it is not that people don't get angry. That's another artificial thing. If the situation warrants, one can get angry. And sometimes you must get angry to do the needful. Lord Shiva is getting angry, he said, for a purpose, to teach them a lesson. In a detached way, he taught lesson. Same way, when we need to teach, when we need to shake up somebody from the reverie that they are in, then we need to adopt certain means. And one of it is that to show anger, to show disturbance. And that's what Lord Shiva did. He was very forgiving. He was least attached. His loss of his wife also he did not speak about. He simply bore everything. That's what to do. Living in this world, sometimes the types of people who don't have understanding is a part of our austerity. So a sober person will also take the austerity and understand that, okay, I have to do that. That's the type of people we have. And let's go through it. Let's train them. Let's listen to the best of our extent. Right? So Prabhupada, you will see that he told once, Krishna did not give me first class men to start this movement. He gave me fifth class, he said, in one place. He said, Krishna gave me fifth class men to start this movement. That's okay if this is what you want me to take, Krishna, because ultimately it is you who is moving everything. So I can work with anybody whom you give and you send. So accordingly, Prabhupada said that he tolerated some of those things that they did. Somebody attacked him, somebody stole his dresses, somebody, did not understand what he said or did the wrong thing. A lot of frustrations you can read in the Lilamrita. But Prabhupada bore it because after all, this is my lot. This is what people are in the Western world. But they are all nice because they are following my order. They are chanting Hare Krishna, reading my books, and Krishna consciousness is spreading. So it may not be happening the way I want it to happen, but it is nevertheless happening. and that's the way Krishna wants it. So he just went along with that, and contributed what he could. So, devotees of the Lord adjust themselves very quickly. Lord Shiva adjusted himself very quickly and forgave Daksha. Forgiving is a great quality of all devotees of Vaishnavas. It is mentioned that a sage is known by his tendency to forgive. That's a great quality. See, tolerating and forgiving. We will be forced to do it in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, especially if you're occupying some position. Then this is the place where Maya wants to attack the most. And this is the greatest opposition to Maya. So she attacks this place the most. And especially out of that, the leaders the most. And you get into so many awkward situations quite often. And you'll have to learn to be very tolerant, very patient. Because Kali Yuga is what it is, and people are what they are in Kali Yuga. So really speaking, we can't expect much. At the same time, we should be careful that we don't think we are right always. So 2 things we can learn today is anger where required, tolerance and patience, forgiving attitude. These are great qualities of Lord Shiva that we see today. At the other side, we show Sati making a decision and angry looking at her father and deciding, I don't need to be your daughter at all. But sometimes we have to take these decisions in life. We have to end our relationships with certain types of people if we want to make spiritual progress. And Sati shows that it's not necessary for me to be in any way having a relationship with you because it's detrimental to my spiritual life. So be done with it. Have nothing to do with you. See? So sometimes in the material world, we also see we are in situations that harass us a lot, give us a lot of pain. It's best to cut it off and live peacefully in Krishna consciousness, serving Krishna. It's a good lesson we can learn from Sati. Sati made a decision. I'm going to cut off my relationship itself with my father. And so that I can be peaceful. I can serve my husband. I can do many things wonderfully. We should let go sometimes. Cut off the relationship. Toxic relationships. Relationships that are not the least bit useful to us. We should not keep them. We should cut them off. These are some powerful lessons we can learn from this. We are very attached to certain things and we want to hold on to this, that, and do this, and do that. Sometimes nothing happens because you need to let go of certain things. The ability to let go, the ability to be detached is a great quality. So I'll stop here. Om Tat Sat Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Any questions or comment? Okay. Haribol.